Okay. All right. So we are live. I wanted to thank everybody for joining us for our very, very, very first podcast with D. Thomas Fine Miniatures. I am thrilled to have JJ Kennedy here. She's a local resident, but she's also a radio DJ, and a great interviewer. And she's here to help guide us and take us through the interview of our next artist who is being featured at D. Thomas Fine Miniatures in the gallery. It's Jill Orlov, and she's actually on the line with us as well. So with that, I'm going to have JJ Kennedy take it away.
Well, thank you, D. Thomas. And we were here with Darren as well, who is the owner of D. Thomas Fine Miniatures. He fails to mention himself in all of this. And not only am I a radio person, but I am also a real aficionado of miniaturism, or I don't even know the correct word for it, but I love your work, Jill, and I'm mesmerized by it. So I'm curious, I just wanted to start by first asking you, how do you see yourself? How do I address you? Do I say, oh, we're with artist Jill Orlov, or is it welder, or is it miniaturist, or is it, architect? How do you address yourself? How do you want to be addressed? How do you want to be known?
Well, I'd like to be known as an artist. I still feel very new at being an artist, but I kind of walked away from architecture more than 12 years ago.
All right. Well, before we get any further, I do want to say you're going to have a gallery exhibition right here at D. Thomas Fine Miniatures. This is going to be Sunday, May 12th, from 3 to 5 p.m.
And May 21st.
Right. I'm dyslexic. Did I mention that? May 21st. And it's the new work by miniaturist, artist Jill Orlov, metal miniatures. And now let's get back to where I am interested in, and that is you as the person. I know that you got your BS in architecture from UVA. And it's funny because it's such a great school, and my sister graduated. She did graduate work there. I tried to get in as an undergrad. And it was the very first year they were taking women. So this goes back like 100 years. And I did not get in. As good a student as I was, I did not get in. And it's kind of interesting. I feel that life has reasons for these sort of things because it put me in a whole nother direction. But anyway, UVA is one of the most wonderful schools in the world. And I guess you enjoyed it as well.
I really did. It was beautiful. I mean, I have a backstory that's similar. Actually, my dream was to go to William and Mary. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew what my mother wanted me to do and be.
Me too. What did your mother want you to? What did your mother want you to do and be?
A doctor.
Oh, see, my mother wanted me to be a teacher. So go ahead. Very similar.
So I didn't get into William and Mary, and so I went to UVA and started out, just in the regular, general school, and then. It's a long story, but I ended up going into the architecture school as a visit. And fell in love with everything I saw. Back then, people had drawings up, models being built. That's not like that anymore. You walk into an architecture school and everything's on computers, so you don't see what's going on.
Right. That's very interesting because mine is so similar to yours in that I didn't get into UVA. I took my second choice, which was Marietta College, which I really knew nothing about. I was sure I was going to UVA. And by accident, I wanted law, pre-law. And by accident, I fell into their radio station one night. And the moment I walked in, it was as if there were like a song playing in the background, like in a show, where like, wah, like all of a sudden, this is it. You're home.
Yeah. No, I think I had that same experience.
Yes.
Actually, I went to the architecture school with my roommate to find a date we were doing a stranger dance, where you fix up your roommate.
Oh, how cool.
And so she's talking to him about fixing him up with one of our roommates. And I'm just, in awe, looking around at all these models and, architecture that just was amazing to me, a whole new world.
Wow. Now, isn't it interesting? I always feel that kids who go to college don't have enough of that, don't have enough variety in terms of they're so focused on what they're supposed to be learning that they don't get enough of a chance to kind of roam around and discover the other departments, the other areas that they may not have even realized that is where they're meant to be.
Right.
And that happened.
That happened to me. And I feel like so many things I've just sort of fallen into that have put me on this path.
But yet, you mentioned that as a kid, when you had a Barbie dream house, you kind of renovated it. You know, you weren't interested in putting the dolls in there. You were kind of interested in putting in new flooring.
Well, it wasn't so much a Barbie one, because they're actually a different scale than traditional doll houses. So I had a traditional doll house, a kit that my mother had built.
Okay.
She was the one that was the handy one. She actually, she was a guidance counselor, and they had an opening for a teaching shop class. And she was so mechanical that she's like, I can do that.
Wow.
So she taught shop for, I don't know, a year or so. But, where was I going with that? She built my dollhouse.
Okay.
You know, just those traditional wooden ones, and that's what I set up with a real brick floor. You could buy miniature brick flooring and mortar it in, and build the little furniture kits. The wallpaper with the miniature patterns, little fruit design. I hung that in the dining room.
Okay, but you were young when you did this.
Yeah, I wish I could remember how old I was. Maybe 10. So I remember I would get Sculpey, was one of my favorite craft materials, and I would make food out of it. Not, Sculpey food for the dollhouse.
Right.
Teeny tiny bowls of fruit, tiny spaghetti and meatballs.
Wow.
I was always obsessed with, Thumbelina and tiny things.
Right. So then when you entered this architectural school and you saw all of these miniatures, did it bring back wow, I can make a career out of this? Or
I don't think I tied the two together until in the more recent years. I just, I always loved building models, and I was a bit obsessive about it. I remember I was building a bridge for one of my designs in second or third year of college, and I remember the professor, he used to come in late at night, and he saw what I was working on, and the next day my piece was gone, and I went to him in a panic, and he said he was showing it around to other studios.
Wow.
And so I was always obsessed with detail.
Interesting. Well, I guess it's kind of worked out, and see, you're just doing what you were meant to be doing.
Yeah. Because I worked in the architecture field for a while, even got licensed, got a graduate degree, and then got licensed. And I never felt this was my passion. A lot of people had that passion for architecture, and once school ended, I think I kind of lost it. And what I eventually realized is that I loved building the models.
Right.
That's when this all came full circle.
That's what I was going to say. To me, when I was reading about you and looking at your work, I said, it seems to me that you love the models, because I know a lot of architects, and I remember when they were in college building these tiny little things, and I thought you liked the miniature better than the piece itself. And later,
I really did.
And you later incorporated those miniatures into your pieces, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm also a pack rat, so I saved all of my dollhouse stuff. I saved everything from architecture school. I lost a lot of the models, but I have all the tools, all the X-Acto knives and the cutting boards and all these different things that I've just kept. And so I still use some of those tools and some of my dollhouse stuff, although it's dwindling. And so I don't do glasswork, miniature glasswork, so that's a whole nother field. So I do buy a few things for my pieces. I try to find other artists that make miniature glasswork.
Oh, it sounds so nice. And from what I've seen of the photos, it's just intriguing, absolutely intriguing.
Thank you.
So you also like to do rooms and boxes, like cigar boxes?
Right. So what happened was about 6 or so years ago, I took a welding class, and at the same time I would do these group art shows that were cigar box themes. And after about the 4th or 5th year, I started incorporating my dollhouse stuff into a shadow box. At that same time, I was taking the welding class, and somehow those two things came together. So I started making sort of dollhouse furniture in that scale, but out of steel.
Wow.
And that's where then I started incorporating that into full-scale furniture, like these little miniature rooms that floated in a table frame, like a full-scale table frame.
Right.
So the first piece I made was this huge dining room table with a tiny kitchen and a tiny dining room floating in that steel frame under glass.
I've seen it. It's wonderful. But now, what made you take the welding class?
I'd always wanted to. They offered it at UVA. They offered it at UPenn. They were always very difficult classes to get into. So, and I was also scared of it. So at UVA, we did a group project. Maybe 4 students were in my group of our last year of architecture school, and one of the women knew how to weld. And the project we were working on, we were going to make some sort of a track system. And so she's like, "You want to come with me to the welding shop to do this?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I was just so impressed that she knew how to do this, and I slightly assisted. But it took me years to finally find a class here in Baltimore. I took at our local art school, MICA, they taught a continuing ed sculptural welding class.
That's great.
And I was terrified the first day.
But yet, you seem to have gotten this mechanical ability from your mother. Sounded like she knew her way around a shop.
Yes, she did.
So I think you were kind of blessed with some of her skills, maybe taking it a little further. But
yeah.
So it was in you. You had that ability, and so it is fearsome because all of a sudden you're wearing this welder's cap with goggles, and I guess you're very well protected in taking these classes, and it's like a suit you put on.
Yeah, I took one welding class, and that's what got me hooked. And then I later took a more advanced welding class, but that was just to kind of get better at what I was doing. But yeah, that's why I was so terrified. I mean, just the electricity amount, the gases, the fire happening.
Right.
I was like, I could die.
But once you did it, you must have felt more comfortable because you continued welding on your own.
Well, what happened? So the teacher in that welding class was very hands-off. He, would just tell us what to do and then just, let you go. And I don't do well in that type of environment. So that's why I was so stressed. So I went in on the weekend to practice, I think with the friend who got me into the welding class. And there was a very young teaching assistant. She was probably in her mid-20s.
Okay.
and a woman. And she was very patient with me and just was calming. And that's when it clicked. I said, if she can do this, I can do this.
Wow.
And I think having my experience with her is what turned this around for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right. Wow. I'm fascinated by this, and we're very excited to see all of that you have to show us from all of these different experiences you've had when we have our gallery exhibition at D. Thomas Fine Miniatures, Sunday, May 21st, from 3 to 5 p.m. Okay. Now, you're going to come in from Baltimore? That's where you live?
Yes, yep. Baltimore. Gonna drive up.
Where did you grow up?
Kind of all over this mid-Atlantic area. So we lived in rural Virginia. And then, actually, I did live in Charlottesville for a year before high school.
Huh.
And, so I was somewhat familiar with the university, and that's because my mother was getting her doctorate there.
That's
so
good. Yeah.
I left Charlottesville to go to Delaware for high school, and then that's when I came back to Charlottesville as a student.
It's a great, great town. But, all right, so I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I wanted to ask you, what made you decide on Baltimore to settle down in?
So after graduate school, I didn't know where I wanted to go. I was, I'd graduated from University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, and I had a very close friend from undergrad that I kept in touch with all those years, and she settled in Baltimore, and so I followed her.
That's great. Okay, so I guess it's been working out for you.
Yeah, I've been here 25 years and really feel like this is my city.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a great city, and we've had our issues, but we have amazing artist community, an incredibly supportive artist community, I've been finding out, and great restaurants, and it's beautiful. So we've got, I think, it's funny, everyone always loves New York, and often when you run into New Yorkers that are visiting Baltimore, they're like, oh, we love Baltimore. It's got its old neighborhoods.
Wow.
And so yeah, I really love it here.
That's great. Now, I know that you love to travel. So where do you love to travel to? Do you have any special places that are your destinations?
Let's see. So many places. We went to Slovenia from...
That's unusual.
I know. Recommended from a friend. We met him at a dinner party, and he is now dating the friend who got me into the welding class, so everything kind of is tied together.
Small world.
And he talked about his country, and my husband ended up researching Slovenia. Happens to be where I won't mention First Lady is from. So we went there, and it's like a fairy tale country. It is beautiful.
Wow.
And we really fell in love with it.
Where did you meet your husband?
Lots of places.
Where did you meet your husband?
Where did we meet? I didn't think that would come up. We met the old-fashioned way on Match.
Oh, interesting. That's good to know. All right, so it works. I love to hear a happy ever after story from these Match.coms. That's great.
That's his line. He likes to say, we met the old-fashioned way on the internet.
I love it. And what does he do, if I could ask?
He's a freelance writer.
Okay, so an artistic type.
Yes, he is. And he's actually given me all kinds of great inspiration for some of the pieces in my works. And it might be something small, like when I was first doing the kitchen. He said, you should add a little trash can with a little lid that's up. And it just, those little things add so much.
That's right.
One of the pieces that will be in this upcoming show, his suggestion was to do a knife block. And so you will see it in a couple weeks. And I think it was a great addition.
It sounds like a great addition, yeah. So you guys have dogs? Your dog?
We have 2 dogs, 2 rescue dogs.
Ooh. And
one is a shepherd mix. She's a bit crazy, but she's sweet. She wants to be sweet anyway.
Okay.
And the little one is a little black mix of all kinds of things.
Okay, so they must keep you as busy as well, all right?
Yes.
And you say that you love to read, but you don't always find great books to get into, right?
Yeah. There was a book called I think it was called The Miniaturist, based on this cabinet piece of furniture. I think it was Dutch back in the 1600s. This piece of furniture where women were not allowed to own property, and so they had these pieces of furniture that the rooms were often replicas of their homes, and they would spend lots of time having artisans make scale furniture of their homes. And this had a bit of a mysticism in the book, which I always love.
Her artist was sort of like an omen teller. I read the book.
Oh, okay.
In fact, we did a reading of The Miniaturist here at D. Thomas.
Okay.
And he has one of those wonderful cabinets. And so everything just came together, and between the book and the cabinet, it was a wonderful evening here at D. Thomas Fine Miniatures, where there's always something wonderful going on. So I do appreciate that you read that book, but not all books have to be about miniatures for you to get into it,
Oh, no. I also read dark murder mysteries.
Oh, okay. But because you were saying something to the effect of you haven't found a book that you could really get into. I don't know if you're familiar.
Oh, no, that's not really true.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I reread The Handmaid's Tale recently, and I had to read that fast because the series was coming out.
Right.
So I just reread that recently.
Yeah, I didn't.
And I actually had to read 1984 too, so I should get caught up on what we're going through.
Okay. All right. Wow. So, all right. So now we've covered all of that, and I guess we're just needing now to wrap up with one of the things that I love about you, and I'm going to be honest, I mean, there's so much that I know it sounds strange because I don't know you, but I feel like when you're dealing with an artist, you can say you love that artist because you love what they do and what it represents to me. And there's so much about what you do that represents something to me that I've just found this connection with you that I feel like I can say, wow, I really love Jill Orlov. And one of the things too is that I read that you have this quote that to me was so amazing because it if I could have had a quote, that would have been my quote. But your quote was, do what you love for as long as you can, so there are no regrets. And that has been how I've really lived my life. And I love that quote, and I'm so glad that you put it out there because it just expresses so much.
Yeah, like I said, I was in the architecture world for a number of years, but then I got frustrated with it. I think just it was overwhelming, all the things you have to coordinate, the mechanical, the plumbing, the electrical. It was overwhelming for me, and I just never felt right for me. And then I went into another situation that was architecture related, inspecting buildings, and I did that for also a number of years, about 12. And that was a good transition, but I needed something creative. And I had always had kind of a basement, artist studio space just for craft things, and was always collecting old metal, architectural salvage things, was taking over the basement. And eventually my super supportive husband said, you need to get a studio and do this for real. You've been talking about it forever. And so he really pushed me to take this leap, to follow my passion.
Behind every great woman, there's a great guy pushing her forward. But I'm glad that you would have made an incredible doctor, I'm sure, and I would have been an incredible Spanish teacher. But fortunately, we ended up doing the things that we love to do, and it is really a blessing when you can do that in life. I am looking so forward to meeting you. You will be here at D. Thomas Fine Miniatures on May 21st, which is a Sunday, from 3 to 5 p.m. It's going to be quite an adventure because you have Darren here who will be directing this show. In fact, I'm going to put Darren on now to continue with you. And I know he puts on a great presentation no matter what it is. And with your work and you being here, it is really exciting. And I do plan to be by here and meet you myself. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I look forward very much to meeting you in person as well.
Well, you are an amazing person, Jill Orlov. Thank you so much. And now here's Darren.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening to this first of a 3-part series, talking with Jill Orlov. So stay tuned. Click on the links for parts 2 and 3. And thank you for joining us for this one. And thank you, Jill, and thank you, JJ Kennedy.
Thank you, Darren and JJ.